Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So I'm in the middle of doing a headlight swap on the GX470. So I decided to make this separate video to kind of show you guys how to upgrade your front turn signals on the GX470. This car is a little bit odd, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you how to do that, as well as installing the load resistors to make the front signals work with LEDs. So stay tuned. So if you guys have a GX470, you know there's a big issue with this light right here. It's a daytime running light and it's also a turn signal. And instead of using a low filament and a high filament, Lexus decided to use just a straight high filament, which is a high wattage, usually 21 watts or higher on the incandescent. And eventually it ends up melting your light in here and melting the actual socket and everything. And it is a big issue with the GX470 owners with these things melting and having to replace them offline or separately once you get to a certain age. And then just even replacing the headlights, because it melts that thing inside there and then just ends up being crumbled all inside the headlight. You also get a lot of cases where this thing ends up burning out and blowing up because it's not designed to be on all the time at that high wattage. These things are usually used for turn signals and brake lights where it's only momentary and most of the time it's off. You can see in here it's like a graveyard. There's actually two bulbs that blew up or fell apart inside here from the previous owner that's still stuck inside this headlight. And then we got this bulb right here. On today's video, as I do my new headlight swap, I'm gonna upgrade this to LED. But in order to use LEDs on this car, you're gonna have to put a load resistor on here just to keep this thing from hyper flashing. So I'll show you how to do that now. So even on this side, you'll notice this thing is actually an aftermarket replacement socket right here that someone swapped out previously, because you can see the colors are different compared to this side. I don't know if it was an aftermarket or maybe an OEM at the dealer swap, but definitely the plug looks very similar, but it's not. It's different, but it's very similar. It's not your generic one. So maybe someone made a replacement for this, or the dealer had a replacement that they swapped it out with from the previous owner. I'm gonna go ahead and recrimp, resolder all this with heat shrink and everything to make it look nice also. So right here, I've got some replacement Oxilam LED bulbs right here. This one is a white one right here. It's a 1156 white, and this one I originally was going to do it like I did last time. I know a lot of you guys on my last video where I did the headlight swap and put these in, you guys had comments about not doing white and how it's illegal, but down here in Florida we don't really care, no one really enforces it. So I was going to do it white with a white turn signal just to have it more like a DRL, like an LED DRL. The other choice is to use these amber ones, so that I've got also these amber ones. This one is a much better quality as far as the build quality, and then just even that magnifying glass right there and the lens that makes it much more brighter for the front view of this, which is the way the headlights go, is the front view, so you can see it in the daytime much better. So I'm gonna actually test out both of them and see how they look. The amber ones don't look that ugly and look really cool, I'll go ahead and use those, but if the white ones look better, I might stick with those. So we'll decide once we put them on to see how they look. But as far as these Oxilams go, these things are pretty good quality for the price. This thing is an actually aluminum construction right here versus some of the competitors who make it out of cheap aluminum looking or even plastic. But this thing is solid aluminum as a heat sink, so it looks like it's very robust. You've got all these LEDs right here. They're just surface mount cob LEDs all around. So the front four are bigger than the sides right there, but you have it all the way around 360. To use either one of these, you're going to end up having to use load resistors from my experience. What I've learned is, even though a lot of these advertise as CAN bus, they're truly not CAN bus. I don't believe that they can have enough resistance in here to mimic a 20 watt incandescent bulb. So all the cases I've tried in the past, you're going to end up needing load resistors to use the LEDs, unless you've got one of the older cars that you could change out the relays. But if you don't, if you have one of the new cars that use a body control unit, you're going to end up having to use these guys anyways, just to make sure you mimic that 20 watt or more resistance. So you can see these things come with the quick connects. I usually don't trust these quick connects. I have used these like 25 years ago on all my projects back in Honda days, but these days I'm a little bit more OCD, so I actually like to crimp it using my specialty crimper or heat shrink and solder, so that way I know there's a sure connection and it looks much more professional and OEM. So one of the things I noticed when I took this thing apart and started working on it, so those replacement one right here, that aftermarket replacement one that they replaced, has the wires swapped compared to the OEM one. You can see the red one right here goes to the side and it goes to the center in here, where the ground goes to on the outside, which is the normal way it goes. On this aftermarket one, the red actually goes to the outside and then the black ground goes to the center. Luckily with these LED bulbs that we have, they're polarity insensitive. They've got circuitry to work either direction, so that way this doesn't matter. So I'm gonna go ahead and just connect this all up the way it is so the colors stay consistent and we don't have any issues later about having black to red and red to black as far as power goes. So for the resistors to connect them, you basically connect them on between the red and the black to create basically a short, right, for the power or the resistance go through to trick the turn signal relay to thinking there's a incandescent bulb in there. You could go ahead and heat shrink and solder to make it nice and clean, or you could use the crimping method that I have using that OEM crimper to make it nice. Since I've got this all out, I'm just go ahead and just heat shrink and solder this one just to make it nice and clean. Alright, on this side, on the aftermarket one, I just clipped it and did the heat shrink, which was pretty straightforward. On this side, I decided not to clip it and make any more cuts. So what I did was I just pulled the pins out of here. So you just take that white piece that holds everything in out of the middle, and then once you do, you can use a small screwdriver or this little pick set that I have here to go ahead and just get in there and undo that tab. Once you undo that tab, you can pull the pin straight out and then put the heat shrink through. Once you're done doing that, then you can stick it back into here and it'll be a nice OEM connection. While I'm in here, I went ahead and just changed out the parking lights right here, the little tiny 194s, to these LEDs I had laying around. So go ahead and just get this all put back into the headlight and see if it works. So we swapped the harness over to here. Just make sure you put everything back on here as far as where all the wire management and everything is. Just tuck all that away and we're pretty much ready to go put this thing back onto the car now. So we got the headlights back onto the car. So you've got the resistor right here with the heat sink. It's best to just screw it right into the metal here. Just make sure you screw it in with the self tapper and you're not hitting anything on the back side that might get damaged, because this thing's on all the time. This thing's gonna be really hot all the time, so we wanna make sure we mount it to metal so it can heat sink. Mounting it right there to this spot right here. Just use one screw is good enough. This is a pretty high strength steel, so it's kind of hard to drill through, so you might have to do a pilot hole before you tap that thing in with a self tapper. Alright, got it on right there, so you can see the amber side and then you can see the white side for the actual signal right there. I like the white side better just because it looks much cleaner, but the amber is supposed to be what you're supposed to have up front. So you can see we've got the amber and the white with the car on, and you can see what it's doing there. The amber is very bright and very annoying actually when you're just at the eye level on it. I like the white better because you're used to seeing that more now with the DRLs on everybody else's car. So I'm gonna go ahead and just stick with the white. Even with the white turn signal, with it being so bright, plenty of people will see that as a turn signal during the day. The amber is just way too amber and it's just not clean enough for me. Hey guys, thanks for joining me on this quick video on doing the resistors and everything for the turn signals on the GX. As you can see, for this car, you gotta use those resistors, but you also have to sync it because those things stay on all the time and those things are gonna really burn out. So we're gonna be really testing those resistors on this car over time to see how well they last. If you found this video useful, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, turn on bell notifications to get notified every time I upload a video. For all these different projects, if I can do it, you can do it. I want to thank you for watching, and I'll talk to you guys next time.